My name is Jordan Hayes, and this is the story of how I kept the Sunnyvale Estates Homeowners Association from collapsing for 6 straight years, quietly wiring $314,500 of my own money into their crumbling clubhouse while President Karen Whitaker and her golden boy son Connor told every neighbor I was the selfish tech bro who couldn't be bothered to lift a finger. It started in 2017 when I closed on my house in this picture-perfect Atlanta suburb. White picket fences, zero crime, and a gleaming clubhouse that supposedly hosted family events. I was fresh out of Georgia Tech with a $78,000 software engineering offer and thought I'd found heaven. Karen herself greeted me at the welcome barbecue, sash pinned like a medal of honor. "Jordan, darling," she cooed, handing me a 50-page rulebook thicker than a phone book. "We're all family here, but family follows the rules. Inches, mailboxes HOA approved beige only, and absolutely no political flags bigger than 3 by 5. We keep things civilized." Her smile never reached her eyes. I smiled back, paid my first dues check, and figured it was just suburban bureaucracy. Boy, was I wrong. 2 months later, the clubhouse roof started leaking like a sieve during a spring storm. Karen called an emergency meeting in the very building that was falling apart. "Folks, we're looking at a $25,000 repair or we lose our heart and soul," she announced, voice dripping fake concern. "That means a $500 special assessment per home." Retirees shifted uncomfortably. Single moms clutched their purses. I ran the math in my head. My new salary could handle it without blinking. So I stood up. Repair. No assessment needed. The room went dead quiet. She'd just won the HOA lottery. "Oh, Jordan, you're a saint. The board will handle the paperwork, of course." Her husband, Robert, the treasurer, nodded vigorously. Her son, Connor, the charismatic sales guy who still lived 2 streets over, slapped my back. "Dude, you're a legend, but hey, let's keep it low-key. Don't want to make the others feel bad." I thought it was temporary, till the budget recovered.
It wasn't. This text started. "Sweetie, the pool filter died. Could you spot us 400? We'll pay you back when things stabilize."
Then the landscaping contract. Then the Christmas light installation. Every request came wrapped in the same velvet threat. "Think of the community, Jordan. Where would we be without you?" I wired the money directly to vendors because I was naive enough to believe family helps family. Meanwhile, my own career was exploding. Promotion to senior engineer at $112,000. I paid off my student loans, maxed my 401k, and started coding a side project management tool for construction firms on nights and weekends. But the narrative Karen was building was already poison. At the 4th of July block party, I overheard her holding court by the grill. "Connor has been an absolute hero. He's the one really stepping up for all of us. Paying for repairs, keeping the clubhouse alive while some people are too busy chasing big city money to care." Neighbors nodded like bobbleheads. Mrs. Cross the street actually patted Connor's arm. "You're such a good boy." I stood there holding a plastic cup of lemonade, invisible. The guy who just dropped 20 grand on a new roof for their precious clubhouse was suddenly the selfish one. Karen didn't stop at lies against me personally. My grass was cited at 2.6 inches, $50 fine. My mailbox had a slightly off beige tone, another $75. I paid every fine without complaint because I was still playing the long game, still believing if I just kept the ship afloat they'd eventually appreciate it. Little did I know they were already spending the equity I was building like it was their personal ATM. By year 2, I was covering the clubhouse mortgage payments directly. $2, $800 a month wired to the bank because Karen claimed the board was swamped. Utilities, insurance, even the annual tree trimming contract. Connor would show up at meetings in a crisp polo, flashing that salesman grin, and Karen would gush. "My son has sacrificed so much for this community." I kept my mouth shut, tracked every transfer in a spreadsheet, and told myself paper beats promises. The dark humor of it all hit me during a board meeting when Karen actually fined the entire neighborhood for excessive holiday cheer on the clubhouse lights I had paid for. She stood there in her sash, clipboard in hand, lecturing grown adults about maintaining standards, while the very lights she was complaining about had been installed with my check. I almost laughed out loud. The real joke was still coming. The temporary help became permanent so smoothly I didn't notice until I was the HOA's unofficial cash cow. By age 25, I was wiring an average of $3,600 a month, mortgage, utilities, emergency repairs, even Connor's community outreach events that somehow always involved steak dinners. Over 2 years, that was $86,400, but my salary had climbed to $185,000 and my side app was gaining traction with real corporate clients. I never corrected anyone who assumed I was still making just 6 figures. Why would I? Every time my income came up in conversation, Karen's next text arrived within hours. Jordan, the playground equipment is failing. Could you handle the $15,000 quote? Connor's between clients right now. I said yes every single time. HOA was supposed to be family. What I didn't know was that Karen and Robert were telling a very different story at every potluck and book club. Connor has been carrying this whole association. Karen would sigh dramatically. He's the one writing those big checks while Jordan, well, he's focused on his career in Atlanta. We understand, of course. Mrs. Patterson started a neighborhood group chat called Thank You Connor and posted selfies of him holding a fake oversized check. I found out when my own neighbor thanked Connor for saving the clubhouse again, while I stood 3 feet away holding the actual invoice I'd paid. The gaslighting was surgical. On a Friday, voice trembling. Jordan, we're 3 months behind on the clubhouse mortgage. We might lose it. We'll play here. I'd wire the money before bed. The next day, she'd post on the HOA Facebook page, huge shout out to my amazing son Connor for stepping up once again. Community hero. The comments poured in. What a good boy. Unlike some people who just take and never give. I screenshotted every post, every comment, and kept building my spreadsheet like a quiet bomb. My side business launched at 29 and exploded. 43 corporate clients in 8 months, $2.8 million in recurring revenue. I incorporated, hired staff, and started drawing a second salary of $145,000 on top of my day job. Total income north of $330,000. Karen and the board still thought I was a mid-level coder scraping by. I never corrected them. Another emergency request. Instead, I watched. His kitchen got a $47,000 renovation. The same month, I wired $18,000 for clubhouse flooring. I noticed Connor's failing startup suddenly had new equipment the month after I paid for emergency tree removal. I saw Robert quietly move funds between accounts like a magician who thought no one was watching. And I smiled the tight, patient smile of a man who was done being erased. The petty fines kept coming too, pure comedy gold. Karen cited me for inappropriate holiday lighting duration after I paid for the entire display. She wrote me up for excessive vehicle shine because my Tesla reflected sunlight onto her perfect lawn. Each ticket came with a little handwritten note. We all have to sacrifice, Jordan. I paid everyone and added it to the spreadsheet under Karen's comedy tax. By year 5, the clubhouse mortgage was paid off, thanks entirely to my 72 monthly wires of $2,800. The building was debt-free for the first time in 28 years. Karen threw a victory barbecue and gave a tearful speech. We did it as a family, especially Connor, who has carried this burden with such grace. Connor stood there looking humble, accepting backslaps while I stood in the corner, holding a plate of overcooked burgers I'd also paid for. The dark irony burned hotter than the grill. They had used my money to pay off the debt, then immediately started shopping for a second mortgage on the now valuable clubhouse equity. I knew because I'd seen the preliminary loan papers on Robert's desk during a board meeting. He thought I didn't confront them. I hired a forensic accountant quietly 2 weeks before the big Christmas potluck. I wanted the numbers airtight. I wanted every lie documented. Because when I finally dropped the hammer, I wanted it to land with the satisfying thud of 6 years of stolen credit and one very expensive second mortgage. The night of the potluck arrived. The clubhouse sparkled with lights I had funded. Tables groaned under dishes everyone had brought except Karen's family. Their contribution was always leadership. She stood at the front with a glass of cheap Chardonnay, sash gleaming. Before we eat, I want to thank the real hero of Sunnyvale Estates, my son Connor, who has kept this community alive through every crisis. Without him, we wouldn't have a clubhouse to stand in tonight. The applause was thunderous. Nod he'd perfected. I set my wine glass down very carefully. The bomb was ready, and on my laptop. The forensic accountant was on speed dial. And for the first time in 6 years, I was done being the invisible ATM. Something inside me snapped the second Karen finished her toast. 6 years of wire transfers, fines, lies, and being painted as the neighborhood villain finally boiled over. I opened my laptop bag, set the computer on the nearest table, and turned the screen so everyone could see. "Actually, Karen?" I said, voice calm but carrying across the room. "Let's talk about who really kept this clubhouse alive." The applause died. Karen's smile froze too. "This isn't the time." I clicked play on the first bank statement. 72 payments of $2,800 wired directly to the clubhouse mortgage lender. That's $21,600 for me. Another $28,800 in utilities. Here's the $38,000 for the emergency roof replacement that actually only cost $8,400 after insurance. I scrolled slowly so everyone could read the labels: Hayes Clubhouse Mortgage, Hayes HOA Utilities, Hayes Community Repair. Robert's face went gray. Karen tried to laugh it off. "Too. We all pitch in." I didn't raise my voice. "Helped? I paid off the entire mortgage. I built the equity you're now using." I hit speakerphone. Patricia Kim from Detailed Financial Forensics is on the line. "Patricia, could you give the Sunnyvale Estates board the summary they clearly need?" Patricia's professional voice cut through the silence like a scalpel. "Of course. Transferred from Jordan Hayes to the HOA over 72 months. $314,500. Primary expenses claimed: mortgage, utilities, repairs, and community emergencies. However, cross-referencing bank records and public filings shows major discrepancies." Karen tried to interrupt. "Let her finish." Patricia continued without mercy. The mortgage was paid off in month 68 as projected. However, in month 69, 14 months ago, the board took out a second mortgage on the clubhouse for $180,000. Those proceeds were never disclosed to Mr. Hayes, who continued making what he believed were mortgage payments for another 14 months. $39,200 deposited into a general account, not debt service. Gasps rippled through the room. Wine glass actually slipped from her hand. Patricia wasn't done. $1,000 Mr. Hayes wired for the alleged roof replacement far exceeded actual costs. The difference, $29,600, was transferred to a personal savings account belonging to Robert and Karen Whitaker. The $47,000 kitchen renovation at the Whitaker residence was funded by the second mortgage proceeds, not HOA.